Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Story I'm Telling Myself. We are live once again. My friend Debbie Potts is in the house with us, and we are
Hey,
excited to have this conversation with you. If you are joining us live, please hop in the comments and say hello. Debbie, say hello to everybody. Tell them who you are.
hello everyone. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Thank you, Rita, for inviting me. My name is Debbie Potts, and I am a virtual assistant. I have my own company, which is dormant at the moment because you'll get to know what's going on later on in the episode. But yeah, my company, there you go, DAPVA Limited. So you can find me there. Um, And yeah, I'm not afraid to say my age, a 57-year-old who is here and spreading positivity, which I think we all need, and following my North Star. So that's me.
I am so excited for this conversation. As you know, you and I were both on the same podcast last year, and I listened to your episode, and I learned even more about your story. And I just feel so much more connection to you on so many levels,
Thanks.
Debbie. But what we're talking about today is we are talking about your cancer journey. And I think you don't have to have cancer. There are all kinds of um, disruptive things in our
Challenges.
lives
Yeah.
that are like
Yeah.
majorly traumatic disruptive, but certainly getting a diagnosis for a disease that can steal your life away is something that is difficult for most of us to imagine.
Mm,
And I
yeah.
think that what we know, the word resilience actually came. I don't know if you know this or not, but the word resilience came from the study of cancer patients
Yeah.
because the treating staff were scratching their heads and they were trying to figure out why do some people walk this journey and they almost die of a broken heart, right? I mean, and
Mm,
other people just emerge like a warrior, stronger than ever. And this is where the resilience thing comes from. And you said to me, I'm not just a survivor, I'm a conqueror. But you didn't start from the position of being a conqueror. So you're going to walk us through that whole story arc, and I'm going
yeah.
to turn it over to you. Tell us about your journey.
Absolutely, Rita. I'll be delighted. And, just for everybody out there, I'm just an ordinary, everyday person who, even before my diagnosis, I loved life. We were hit. So I'll start from the beginning of during the pandemic, that the dreaded pandemic in 2020, horrid. Yeah, the world was in chaos, and I was living in London at the time, and it was a complete shutdown. And I thought, okay, it is a horrible situation, but how do I turn this into something positive that can help me, or that, what do I want? So at the time, I was thinking about moving to Sweden with my partner, and I had applied for all sorts of jobs from London in Sweden, and it was so difficult. So in the end, I thought, no, there has to be an answer. So I decided, okay, I'm going to start my own business, because then if I can work remotely, I can carry my business with me wherever I go. So, to cut a long story short, on the 4th of August 2020, DAPVA Limited was born. Oh, it was the most amazing. I remember toasting champagne and all sorts of things. It was fantastic. It was a labor of love. I'd spent from the day we went into lockdown, which was 20th of March 2020, up until my business formed. I spent almost every waking hour working on that. I did also have a full-time job as a school business manager in a inner city London primary school. I was supporting a cluster of schools. So I was very busy, but we couldn't travel, we couldn't move, we couldn't do anything. We were even restricted from going outside our homes for a walk. So I thought, okay, this is, I never get all this time. Let me use it. So did a course on becoming a VA, starting a business, all of that, marketing, everything you need to know. Launched the business on the 4th of August 2020, and started working both on my business but continuing with my school job. And by the time it got to February of 2021, it would have been, something had to give because my business overtook my day job. So I gave in my notice at the school and focused 100% on my business, and it was fantastic. I was, oh my God, Rita and audience, I was flying. Don't listen to anybody who tells you you can't. You can. It was so successful. I made so much. I mean, money's not everything, but I had the most incredible clients. They were so lovely. Rita knows some of them. And, it was just a wonderful experience. So then I was like, now I can move to Sweden. So we packed up everything in London, did the inventory, paid the duty because Britain had left the European Union at this time. So there was Brexit, all these tolls and duty. We had to import stuff, and oh my God, it was awful. But we did it because I wanted to move to Sweden. We didn't have a home in Sweden yet, but I knew that once I was there, I would sort all of that out, and I can now work. So great. So we booked our flights for the 6th of August, 2021. On the 4th of August, 2021, I went for what I thought was a routine scan. The last scan checked me over before I moved to Sweden. And I remember my doctor, I said to the doctor who was the radiologist, okay, I'm flying tomorrow or the next day. I can't wait for the results. Can you just talk me through what you see on the screen? That's fine. It's probably all okay anyway. And he did, and he was hesitant. Then he went out and he called a nurse, and I thought, oh my God, that's okay. Anyway, never mind. She's probably, I don't know. I still thought it's nothing. And then he said to me, see those dark clouds on the screen here, on this side on the left, and then again here on the right, and then in the middle here. I'm 99% sure that that's cancer cells. You have cancer. I'm like, what? I was all alone and I was like stunned. So I'm like, oh, but I'm moving to Sweden. I haven't got time for cancer.
There we go, right? I mean, don't we
like,
all feel this way when we have these major life-altering events? The first story we tell ourselves is, this can't be true. I don't have time for this.
Time. No. I mean, my furniture was gone. It was on the road. We were going to meet the lorry on the Friday. I'm like, I have to go. He's like, no, I don't think is there anyone you can call? I knew, okay. I'm laughing now because it's like I'm telling the story about someone else, not me. Anyway, yeah, we had this, I called Dan, and he came over with our youngest daughter, Mari, and then she called my eldest daughter, Kayleen, and they all came over and they were crying. And the first thing I did while I was waiting for them to come to the hospital, I phoned Dan's best friend and I said to him, Anders, I'm going to die. So you need to take care of Dan because, I'm not going to be there. And he needs someone. And by this time I was crying because now it hit me. He's all the way in Sweden. He couldn't understand what I'm saying. He's like, speak slowly. What are you saying? And
so your mind had already jumped to the worst possible outcome.
Yep. Oh yeah. I was dying, and that was the end of my life. So it was a very dark, even though I had all these lovely plans ahead of me, it was as if a hole opened. I went into this dark hole and I just kept on falling and I didn't hit the ground, and it just kept going and going. Anyway, yeah, it was sad. I'm not going to lie to your audience. It was an absolute horrendous time, that initial first few days of diagnosis, because then they want to do more tests and they say, okay, in 2 weeks, we're going to do this and that. And I'm sorry, I'm not waiting 2 weeks to hear anything. So I woke up the next morning. Of course, we didn't sleep. And I said to Dan at 5 o'clock, I was getting dressed. He goes, where are you going? I said, I'm going to the hospital. He goes, but you don't have, it's Saturday, or it was, no, Friday. You don't have an appointment. No, it's fine. I'm going to just wait out there and I'm going to see. I know where the oncology department is. It's on the first floor to the right. I'm just going to go there and wait and camp, and someone needs to see me. So I did that, got to the hospital like 6 a.m. and I just sat there. And of course, the receptionist came and she's like, "Can I help you?" And it's so early. And I said, "No, I'm just waiting for someone in that department because I need to speak to someone now. I've got cancer and I want to speak to someone." So she saw us and she said, "Let me call this." So there's an organization in the UK called Macmillan, and they are a cancer charity, and they're fantastic. Absolutely. All the UK viewers, you'll know Macmillan is amazing. So they, in every hospital and so on, there is a Macmillan nurse. So she said, "Let me call her because she's the person you need to speak to." That woman was an angel. That's how it all started, going up. She's as if she caught my hand. So she said, "Oh, okay, I can see how concerned and upset you are. Come with me." She took us into her office. She said, "Look, the oncologist doesn't get in until about, I don't know, 9 a.m. But you can either come back or wait here. I'll have a word with him so he can see you. And maybe in the meanwhile, we'll do some bloods and this and this and this." So we did all of that. We waited. He came at 9 o'clock, called us into his office at 9:30, and he said, "I'm going to refer you to this hospital. It's called the Royal Marsden, and I'm referring you to my colleague, Dr. Angela George, who is a leading consultant in all things gynae cancer and genomics and all the things research. She's amazing. You need to go there. It's only 15 minutes down the road, but that's where you should be because it's a specialist cancer hospital." And I was like, "Oh my God, another hospital? Okay, I'll go. I'll do anything." By this time, I'm still a bit unsure. Get to the Marsden. We see Dr. George. She was incredible. She was the most, oh my God, till today, I can't even talk about that woman without getting emotional.
Can I pause you for just a minute there
Sure.
before you get to switching out your doctor? Let's just step a moment back into that decision to go plant yourself in the hospital. So you went from "I don't have time for this" to "I'm not going to be here to take care of my family. I've got to make arrangements for them," to "I got to go put myself in the waiting room at the hospital." So what was the story you were telling yourself at this stage when you met this Macmillan nurse?
I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die like this. I don't want to die. And I'm going to do everything I can. If it means I have to sleep on the floor in this waiting room until somebody sees me, that's what I'm going to do, because I just point blank, now I'm in denial. I'm refusing. I don't want this disease. I don't want it in my body. I don't want it. So
And you're
whatever
ready
you
to
tell
fight.
me,
You're like,
yeah,
"Whatever it takes, I'm ready to
yep,
fight."
yep. You tell
And
me
so
to go to this hospital. Okay, fine. I'll go to this hospital. I'll do whatever. Met Dr. George. I'll do whatever. And I remember her looking at us. By this time, I'd had more tests, and she said, "Okay, I'm going to talk you through." And she had like another doctor in there and a CNS, a clinical nurse specialist. And I'm like, "Oh, this is bad news. They've got all these people. I see it in the movies, and And she's like, "The good news is we have devised a curative plan for you." I was like, "What? Cure? Cure? What does that word mean? Cure? What does cure mean?" "Well, if all goes well, we can get rid of it. But the bad news is," oh my God, there's bad news. "You have a very aggressive form of," I had two forms of cancer, carcinoma and sarcoma, ovarian stage 3. And she said, "Yeah, we have a curative plan. It has been done before, but Debbie, we are the medical professionals. We will do 50% of what it takes to get you whole again. The other 50% is up to you. It's it's
Wow.
it's it's your mind, it's your well-being, it's what you eat, what you do with your body, the therapy that we can offer you, that everything, to make sure that together we are working as one. But it's not just us as professionals. If you resist us, we are on a losing battle. But if you work with us," I was like, "Oh, what kind of a hospital is this? I've never heard a doctor." So it was sort of a blur. But by this stage, and she said to me, okay, it was the end of August by here, and then the 1st of September, you starting chemotherapy. Okay, whatever. Don't even know what chemo is. Don't even know how
And
they
by the way,
administer it.
you had to abandon the whole move to Sweden. At this point,
Totally.
you are in the UK because this is where you're getting your treatment done.
Yeah, that's where I had the
So
scan.
there's
That's
all
where
this other
yeah.
all this other chaos going on behind the scenes,
Oh,
right?
Rita,
Of
it's
the
so funny. Our furniture went all the way to Stockholm. We had to get friends to offload it. They didn't know exactly what was ours. We ended up inheriting two amazing racing bicycles that belonged to a German couple in Hamburg. And I remember the removal company phoning us maybe a week into my cancer journey saying, oh, we need you to return the bikes. And we had also packed our two bikes. We have folding bikes, Bromptons, and they're in suitcases. So nobody would have known there were bikes in there. So I said, no, I'm not giving away. Those are my bikes. I'm not giving. And it just went on and on. And the poor guy in the end, he said, look, I'm going to lose my job if I don't get these bikes back. We will go to Stockholm and pick them up. We have to take them back to Germany. And I'm like, I don't even know what is there because we're in London. So I had to get my friend to take pictures, show us, and there were the two racing. I'm like, oh, those are not ours. So throughout the cancer, we're dealing with all of that. And yeah, we had house viewings lined up. So we had to cancel all of that, put everything on hold, focus on this, go to the Marsden, do what they told us to do, take advantage of all the holistic care that they offered. And that's where your book came in. Can I say that? Am I allowed to talk about your book?
Absolutely. Please do.
Oh my God. So, okay, I'm sitting in this armchair with drips in. Anyone who's been through, I don't wish it on. Nobody should be a member of the club that I'm in, but never mind. We got these drips and things in your arm, and this poison is going through, and people are checking on you, and there's bleeping going, and then I'm thinking, is this going to be my life? And of course, I had a bad reaction to the first cycle of chemo, because first chemo infusion, because I was allergic to carboplatin, which is one of the drugs. Okay, there's two, paclitaxel and carboplatin, and I was allergic to the. It was the paclitaxel actually, but anyway, never mind. So that was another story.
But you're like you're sick as a dog, the very first one, and they're having to
no,
do
I
all this
passed out. They
special.
had to they had to resuscitate me. I died.
Oh
They
my
had to boom
gosh!
boom. Because when I
Oh my
woke up, there were
gosh!
all these people. There was the screens around me. Lots of people in my face going, Deborah, Deborah, Deborah. My beautiful red dress was cut. They had no time to take the dress off. It was completely ripped, and I had all these things. And I was like, oh, I just came for chemo. What happened? We were actually talking about Love Island with the nurse who was doing the chemo, this program, laughing about like the funny. But anyway, and Dan had dropped me off and he went off to work. So he had no idea what was going on. Nothing.
Wow.
So when I came round, they explained. By this time it was about noon, and I my chemo session was 8 o'clock every morning until about 6 in the evening or 7. This was noon when I now am. What happened? And they told me, and they said, we would like to try again. Now, bearing in mind they had to just resuscitate me. I had oxygen and all sorts of things. And I'm like, yeah, sure, try again. Please do. Please try again. So they said, okay, we'll do it a bit differently. We're going to increase the steroids and make a slower infusion. So it's, we can watch what. And that's kind of, say, everything took longer. And I had to have 6 of those cycles. And yeah, not pretty. So by this time, I'm thinking, wait, I am the founder of DAPVA Limited, remember? My clients from all over the world, my beautiful people, the lovely work I absolutely love doing, my happy place where my creativity shone. And it was just amazing. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just bring my laptop into the hospital. So I continued working until November of 2021 when no, I just couldn't work anymore. Just got worse and worse and worse. By December, they couldn't finish the cycles because I developed a clot in my right femoral artery that was 10 centimeters long and this diameter.
Wow.
had to have surgery for that. They were going to amputate the leg. And I said, no, please don't take my leg. I need it. I swear my cycle. I do all these things. Don't take my leg. Fix it. They said, no, we can't because we're a vascular hospital. You're with the cancer hospital. By the time we call your hospital, the UK is full of, they don't join up with the different national health trusts. Everyone's different. They said, by the time we call Dr. George or your whoever, get what your latest reports are and blah, blah, blah. And you're in the middle of chemo, so we can't just operate on you as we would a normal person. I think it's best to amputate because time is of the essence. I said, no, pass me my rucksack. I pulled out a file and I said, here you go. This is everything from up to last Friday. My scans, my reports, my bloods, my everything. And he said, oh, do you work in the medical profession? I said, no, I don't. I'm a virtual assistant. And he's like, who moves around with all these things? I said, I do. So he looked at them. He's like, oh, we still need to. I said, don't worry. My mobile phone here, I got Dr. George's number. This is Dr. George's number, but don't phone her because she won't answer you because it's an unrecognizable call. So I called her PA, Nada, and I said, Nada, this is Debbie. I'm here. This is happening. They want to cut my leg off. They need to speak to Dr. George. I could hear her heels going clip, clop in the corridor. She said, Debbie, Dr. George is in clinic. I'm just going there right now, and I'll tell her to take the next call. So I told Colin Bicknell, who you can Google him. He's like a European renowned vascular surgeon. He spoke with Dr. George. I could actually hear him out in the corridor. And then they came in, prepped me for surgery, whipped me in. 6 hours later, I woke up. The first thing I said is, have I got a leg? Yeah, you got a leg. Oh, okay. Never mind about, I'm in the middle of cancer. I'm in the middle of chemo. It was just horrendous.
Well, look, the victim voice would be really strong in most of us at this point. And that's why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? Everything is outside of my control. Were you having a lot of those thoughts or did you think about it differently?
No, I have no idea where it came from. It must have been something I developed up until now or up until that point, because never once did myself or Dan or any of my family say, oh, poor us. Why is this? Never once, not even for a second. I just accepted this is my path. I have to walk this path. I want to get to Sweden somehow. When, I don't know, because now it's unknown. But I didn't give up. And this is where this visualization came in to, when you have cancer and you have chemo and you're lying in a bed and you can't really do much else. You can't eat. You can't hardly walk. I had been in, what do we call it? A&E in the UK, casualty, emergency. I can't even tell you how many times, because I would pass out. I once passed out in our small, tiny bathroom in our London apartment, and my body wedged the door so they couldn't open to get to me. So they had to unscrew the hinges, take the door. And it's just bizarre. But to me, it was like each thing was a little challenge or a hurdle that I have to get over. And I thought, okay, we just do it. So Dr. George and the Royal Marsden actually call me their ideal patient, because they said, Debbie, you do everything we tell you to do. When I had my first surgery, they said, okay, it's a very major surgery. It's a full hysterectomy and debulking surgery. We need you to be walking, or at least, sitting on the side of your bed within 24 hours. Then you need to stand within 10 or 12 hours after that. Then you need to walk after another maybe 40 hours or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, I got this. You know what? As soon as I came out, they wheeled me to the ward after recovery. And the nurse said, oh, you've got a catheter and you've got this and you've got all these tubes and stay in the bed. We're going to bring your dinner. And I said, no, I'm not staying in bed. I said, I want to sit in that chair on the side. Help me. So she got me out and I used the two drip wheelie things as support. And I said, oh, this is okay. I can, let me just try to get to the door. So I like, oh, this is great. Oh, look, this is what the ward looks like. Oh, look, there's people over there. Let me get to the nurses station. Within 10 hours, Rita, I not only sat on the
You
side of
might
my
be a
bed.
little bit of an overachiever there, Debbie.
No, I was like,
here's
I
the
want to go
thing.
home. I want to go, and I'm on a mission. I have things to do, Rita.
Our minds are so powerful. And this is the reason that I am having this podcast this year, to really spotlight. So I want to pause here and just spotlight. And if you're joining us, please say hello in the comments. Let us know you're there. If you have questions, ask your questions. But look, the mind is super powerful, and your doctor told you that.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember walking
Your book
alongside
tells you, the book says that it's a muscle. The brain is like, we train like this to get, this is the same.
It is the same. And so your mind, very powerful. But sometimes it gets fixated in the wrong direction, right? And it's using that power in ways that are depleting. But you were harnessing your brain and using it in ways that were really helping you to find strength and take care of yourself. And so we titled this episode, Am I Settling for This? And so far, I'm just tallying along the way. The first thing is you had this thought, I'm done for. Cancer's got me. And then you said,
I'm
hell
done.
no, I'm not settling for cancer winning. I'm not settling that cancer gets to
No.
win this one. That was your first, I'm not settling for this, right?
Yeah.
And then your second was they were going to take your leg.
Yeah, no.
And you were like, I'm not settling for amputation as the easy answer here. Like, we're going to stay in conversation. We're going to figure
Can I just
this
interject
out.
there? Because that vascular surgeon said to me, Debbie, with respect, I studied for many years. I am, expert in my field. I know what I'm talking about. We got to amputate. Oh, no, you're not amputating. I said, with respect, oh my God, Mr. Bicknell, I love you. And I'm so glad it's you that's going to do whatever you're going to do, but you're not taking my leg. First, try something else. If that fails, I will go with your method.
So what was the next place where you had circumstances, maybe your own internal thoughts, where you had to once again come to this place of, I'm not going to settle for this?
Yeah,
What was
so
the
then
next I'm not going to settle for?
It was my business, because obviously in November I was absolutely done for. And I thought, I really worked hard to create DAPVA. That's a labor of love. And it's like my baby. I worked countless hours. I can't even tell you, midnight, crying and all sorts of things, because I was so invested and so passionate about making it a success. I'm not prepared. It's a year. I got diagnosed exactly when my business turned 1 year. That's when I got my cancer diagnosis. And I said, nope, I'm not losing my business. So I contacted the lady who I did the VA course with. And I said, I know there's a module in the course I did with about business continuity and crisis management. I'm having a crisis. Can you help me? And I reached out and she said, oh my God, of course, Debbie, right. First of all, let's make a list of your clients. What kind of work? We sat down and it took hours. And I said, no, I'm fine. She's like, are you okay? Yep, I'm fine. She goes, okay, we have this called the system in place called associate VAs. And they are VAs who don't necessarily want to have their own business and have the, excuse me, the burden of managing their own, but they're happy to take on overflow from other VAs. So she said, Debbie, I'm going to send you a list, interview them, pick them, and they will continue your business while you can't. And that's exactly what I did. And that gave me so much peace. You wouldn't believe, Rita, because I was then able to get back onto my chemo journey. And then it was surgery coming up next, walking, getting out of that bed, making sure, having a little pause of 1 month, going back to the hospital at the end of February 2022 to hear those amazing words that everybody who has a cancer diagnosis wishes to hear. Debbie, we caught it all clear. I was like, really, are you sure? Can you just check again? Can you double check? Are you sure? Yeah, all it's you responded so well to the chemotherapy, so well to the surgery. Yeah, all clear. What we're going to do now is just maintenance treatment. You're going to take these 2 little pills every day, coupled with other pills to help my clots and other things. But that's it. You're great. We can take the port out of your arm. You can go swimming now. You can live your life. Really? Great. First thing we did is we booked a holiday to Greece, all my family.
Lovely.
That was the most amazing time ever. I had no hair. It was fine. No problem. I was alive, Rita. I was alive.
You were alive. And
Oh,
and everybody lives to get that diagnosis. So this is the early part of 22. My book, Show Up Positive, didn't arrive on the scene until June of 22. But you were one of the
but
first
I think
people.
I was.
You were my
But
first international sale of the book.
And I was following you. I don't really remember how I met you. And you were this positivity. You were doing all these things around positivity. And obviously, I'll tell you where your book came in, actually. So May, we went to Greece. It was fantastic, absolutely wonderful. Came back, said to Dan, great, we can move to Sweden. Our furniture had been sitting in boxes and packed and all, since August 2021. Off we went to Stockholm in Dan's old apartment, opened up stuff. It was like Christmas, didn't even know I'd packed those things. And we were there. So we got there about the 11th of June, 2022, ready to celebrate Midsummer. Midsummer is huge in Sweden. Celebrate with his families, the coming of the sun and summer and light and all things wonderful. 4 days into our stay in Stockholm, we got a call from Mr. Barton, who was the surgeon. And he said, oh, yeah, I know you in Sweden. And surgeons don't have good bedside manner. All he said was, yep, your cancer's come back. You need to come back. What? Yep, you need to come back. Oh my God, I'm not taking this. I phoned Dr. George. Oh, Dr. George, what is he saying? She's like, Debbie, I know. We're all so surprised. We can't believe it. You've got a tumor 7.5 centimeters and another one 3.5 centimeters. I said, but I had a hysterectomy. You took everything out. There's nothing in there. She goes, I know. You just come back and we're so sorry. And so off we went. Didn't get to celebrate Midsummer. Back in London. Back all this worse because now we know. So the second diagnosis is actually worse than the first because you know what's coming. So I said to Dan, okay, we did it once, we'll just do it again. And Dan was even more upset. So there's me and I'm having to go, oh, it's okay, we're going to be okay, don't worry.
And were you really thinking that? Like, what was the story that you
had in your
head?
Yeah, so with the help of the Marsden and because we were so close to Dr. George, she saw our disappointment because we are only human. But this is what she said, and I held on to it. She said, Debbie, look at this like you're on a journey in the road and this boulder falls and blocks your path. What are we going to do? We're going to go around it and then you can continue your journey. And that's what we're going to do.
Beautiful.
And I said, oh, if you can think that then, and you're the professional, well, I think that too. Oh, that's just a blip. It's fine. I had to have more surgery. And this time it was sitting on my bowel and they had to remove part of my bowel and blah, blah, blah. It's a long story. And I ended up having a colostomy, which is on the left-hand side. So not an ileostomy on the right-hand side, a colostomy with a stoma bag, who I named Chloe the colostomy, because Chloe saved my life. So I was told that I would have to have Chloe for 1 year. But as I went through the monitoring and checks, they said, no, it's too risky. We can't take Chloe. You have to have her for the rest of your life. I'm like, oh, that's devastating. Hey, but wait. No, it's not devastating. Chloe is keeping me alive. Without Chloe, I would not be here. I love you, Chloe. That's fine. We got this. We do this together. So yeah, Chloe and I have been together since the 17th of August, 2022. And yeah, Rita, your book was with me. Honestly, it really was, because now I'm thinking, oh my God, Sweden was so close. I could taste living in Sweden. I touched it. We had all these house viewings lined up. It was wonderful. I was like, oh, it's summer, the sun is shining. We're gonna do this. No, I had to stay in London. I couldn't even walk properly. I couldn't, yeah, it was worse, much worse than the first diagnosis. But I thought, okay, you know what? I need to do something. I know that cancer charity that helped me. I'm going to have a coffee morning for them. Oh, Leslie,
Hi,
how nice.
Leslie. Yeah,
Hi,
thanks for
Leslie,
joining
so
us.
lovely. And I was like, okay, let me give back, because so far they've really helped me and they've been fantastic. So what I'll do is I'll hold a coffee morning. Oh, wait, how do I don't have anywhere to hold it. So from my hospital bed, I WhatsApped, I can never say that word, WhatsApped 5 of my neighbors in the street. I live in a street in Holland Park in Kensington in the middle of London that has 100 houses, and I've lived there for 35 years. So I wrote to 5 of my neighbors and I said, oh, do you think we can have a street coffee morning? We could ask the baker on the corner to provide the buns or cakes or biscuits or cookies, and maybe the tea. We could ask the hairdresser to donate. We could ask the Chinese shop for containers. We could ask, let's do this. I've did this flyer and it's in the name of Macmillan. Let's do this. Do you know what? We came together. It was like a street party. I had to stay in hospital for a month, so we had to have it on the 1st of October 2022. I had to sit on a chair on the street on the pavement against our wall, because I couldn't even stand. Had all people donate all these cakes and coffee, and the whole street came together. Do you know what? There is power in telling your story. Everybody out there, tell your story, because in doing that, I had people I'd known for 30 years. I'd seen them walk on the street. Our children were friends. I had no idea they also went through a similar journey that I went through. And everyone came together. We ended up raising thousands of pounds for this charity, which was incredible. They then said, oh, can we come to your house and interview you? Can we do this? I became a mini celebrity. And Dan was like, baby, you need to take care, calm down. I said, what? You joking? This is amazing. I'm on a high. I'm loving life. When do you have BBC coming into your home, or the Telegraph, or being asked to go sit on the BBC red sofa in Manchester? Never. I'm just an ordinary person. So I'm sorry, I'm taking it. I'm coming, and I made them fika, I made buns. So they were like, are you sure you have cancer? I said, yeah, I had. HAD, past tense, had. And I'm obviously, yeah, I'm being monitored, and yes, it's hard and blah, 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 but let's call it like it is. They operated on me the second time. They removed the tumor. So in my head, past tense, according to Dr. George, because she told me, Debbie, you cannot ever call yourself like I have cancer. You did have, but now we did the surgery, you did the chemo, you did all the treatments you had, and tell your brain that it's past tense. This is coming from an oncologist, a medical professional. She told me to change my vocabulary. So together with this visualization, okay, so I had cancer. Okay, now I can go back, visualize my red house, moving to Sweden, living like this. And as I said to you in the beginning of before we came live, Rita, I was so specific. It's scary. I Googled or searched on the internet images, red house, forest, Sweden, water. And this picture came out, and I said, yeah, that's exactly what I want. Printed it, and I stuck it on my mirror in the bathroom. So every morning, well, more than every morning, I would look at this, and it was imprinted in my brain. And together with your book, visualize what you want. I'm sorry, your audience need to know this, because this is a powerful book, guys. Trust me. There is a line, it says, the clearer you are when visualizing your dreams, the brighter the spotlight will be to lead you on the right path. And honestly, if we are not clear and we do not visualize, it's like walking in the dark and thinking, should I go this way? Should I go that way? Do I want a red house? Maybe a white house. No, maybe a gray house. No. Very specific. I needed a red house in the middle of the forest, close to water, in Sweden. That was it. No compromise. When Dan said to the estate agent, the realtor, he said, "Oh, what are your requirements? What are you looking for?" He goes, "Oh, it doesn't matter as long as it's red." He said, "Really?" Well, there's lots of red houses in Sweden. He said, "Yep, Debbie wants a red house." And it happened. And I'm just going to add this in quickly. I know I don't know how long we talk for, Rita, but anyway, I'm going to add this in.
Yeah, we're coming to the end of our time for sure.
Listen, when we looked at this house, it was the second house. We weren't even supposed to look at it. It was on our path because we lined up 13 houses to look at in 2 days. This was in February
I've done this. Yes,
2023.
yes.
Yeah. And this one, I said to Dan, "Oh, the plans don't look right. It just doesn't look right. No, we won't." And he said, "No, just give the agent a call. If he's there, we'll go and look. If not, we'll just look through the window." Called him, Tommy Bayer. "Tommy, we're here. Can we look at this house?" He's like, "Sure." As soon as he opened the door, I was like, "Oh my
It was
God.
your house.
This was
You're
our
like, there it
house.
is.
Yeah,
This is our
it. I'm
house.
sitting in it now." And I said to Dan, "Oh my God, we got 11 more to look at." But you know what? Because in Sweden you have to make appointments, booking, and it's in the countryside, so the agents drive and come. And I said, we just have to see all 11. And I don't think any of those are going to match this one. But let's just, out of respect, go and see them. We went to see all the houses. I had so much fun, Rita. I can't even tell you. It was amazing. But we came back to this house, and when we told him, "Look, we're living in London, we've got to fly back to London," he's like, "Oh, I don't think the developer's going to wait," because it's a brand new house. He said, "I don't think he's going to wait. He wants a quick sale." I'm like, "Give me his number. I'll speak to him, please." So I ended up telling Tommy my story. I'm like, "No, this is the second time. It's like third time lucky now that we're moving to Sweden. Please, 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 we got to have this house." So he goes, "Okay, I'll phone Gustav," he's called, "and let you know." So anyway, to cut a long story short, we ended up meeting Gustav because we invited him in when we had done it. And he was so emotional when he came to see what we'd done. And he goes, "When I'm building," he builds houses and then sells them. That's what he does. He's a builder and a developer. And he said, "When I was building this house, I was hoping that, it's for a family and they're going to, do this and this is how it's going to be." And that's a house. I build houses. You've turned my house that I built into a home. It's amazing. And then he told us the story. So there's 8 houses in this little village, and they're all white or gray. And this one is red. And what happened was he ordered the red paint, but after he sort of looked and he thought, "Oh no, I should cancel the paint order from the paint people who are mixing. It's called Falu Röd, which is a special Swedish red. I need to change it to white so it's in keeping with the village." And then the the paint company said, "Sorry, Gustav, we've mixed it. It's red. You're getting red. We can't change now because it's done."
It
And he
was
said, "Oh well,
destined for you, Debbie.
yeah,
Look,
never mind."
if you're not believing Debbie, you're not believing me or my book Show Positive. But please believe Debbie's oncologist.
Yeah,
Like this very specific thing, you've got to change your language. This is your internal story. She was telling Debbie, you've got to change the story that you are holding inside of you.
yeah, totally.
And you held this story of the red house.
Yeah,
And
the
then
whole of the hospital knew. Do you know, that's another thing. Some people say, keep it a secret until no. I spread it to the world because once I put it out there, Rita, I now was destined to do it. Because if you
yes.
don't tell anyone, you can tell yourself, "Oh no, it doesn't matter. Nobody knows I want a red house, so it's quiet." No, I told the world. I told even my clients. Everybody knew. The whole even the hospital were like, "Oh, Debbie, we're so happy for you, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you'll get your red house. Don't worry. Da, da, da. We know how you love Sweden." When I was called back, they were like, "Don't worry. This is a blip. You'll get to Sweden. You will do it." And here I am. It's the power of telling your brain or showing up positive or saying no to negativity, not settling. Rita, you said that. That's exactly what it is. Don't settle. Just do not settle because it works. Look, I'm not anyone special. I'm not. I'm just a girl who loves life, loves living, and now understands the power that we hold within us. It's us. It's not up to Dan or my mom or my friends. It's up to me. We choose. And that's, again, the power of choice. I'm born and raised in Zimbabwe, formerly Rhodesia, which is a completely different culture to the European culture, democracy. There is no democracy. And because I chose to have a better life, I moved to the UK for reasons of economic poverty, and just that my country was going south, not where you want it to be. London gave me an opportunity to find myself and be who you see today. And I say that I moved to Sweden through choice again, this time for love of Dan, for love of the country, for love of the culture, and for love of the Red House. And so I chose, and I told my brain, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm doing.
I want to go back real quick, and we do need to wrap up. Although who cares? It's our show, right? We get to be as long.
Yeah.
Leslie asked this question. It's really important. Don't we tell our mind rather than our brain, as they are not the same? Actually, new research shows. So when they do an MRI of the brain in activity, what we see is we see the processing areas of the brain light up as somebody is manipulating a puzzle or a challenge of some part. And then when they are asked to verbalize, what happens is even when they're not asked to, when they're asked to think, not to verbalize, but to think about what they would say, not even saying it out loud, just to think about what they are going to say, the verbalization area of the brain lights up. Even when we're thinking about it, the verbalization area lights up, and that's where thoughts come from. It's actually coming from the same area of the brain that we use to say things out loud. So actually,
Interesting.
the
I didn't know
interesting
that.
question, Leslie, is
Yeah.
that it really is all tied together, our mind and our brain, because thoughts do come from this particular segment of that is our verbal speech segment of our brains. And this is just new research.
Wow.
I think
I
it
had
goes back to
no idea.
2022 that I've been reading about. That's fascinating. So you really can't completely disconnect mind and brain together. You really are
No.
talking about the same things.
Yeah, and I think Leslie, also in answer, I just assume it's connected. I assumed it's the same thing when you talk about the mind and you talk about the brain. So sometimes I'll say, oh, in my mind I thought this, and I told my brain this. I don't know if it's correct language, but for me, it's all leading to the same, what I need it to, I need to achieve this, I need to get this. I mean, last summer, what was that? No, it would have been, 2023, when we now in the Red House. I said, okay, what's next? I always have to have a plan. I need something to work towards. Oh my God, I've never owned a boat in my life. Rita, I want a boat. So at the end of 2023, I said to Dan, we're getting a boat. He's like, what?
What color is the boat, Debbie? What color is the boat?
No, it has to be white.
The boat has to be white.
No, it's
perfect.
white. So anyway, what happened was, it's like, get your whatever license you need to take this boat. And yeah, we got a boat. So last year we got our boat. It's called Miss Debbie, and it's an amazing motorboat. And we sail all over not sail, we'll go all over the archipelago, and it's just wonderful. So yeah, and this year my goal is to be fluent in Swedish. So jag lär mig svenska. And I'm working very hard to do that, because I'm visualizing myself speaking, doing something like this in Swedish, and that's in there.
I love that. Well, Mark, hey, welcome. Thanks for saying hello. And I just want to read this because not everybody, if you're not on
Yeah.
LinkedIn, you're not seeing this comment from Leslie. Leslie says, consider that you're not changing the story at all, ladies. How about that? You're creating a new story that outweighs the old one. And you do keep it to yourself until you start seeing the signs that what you want is on its way to you. Well, that's a matter of choice, whether you speak it out loud or not.
Yeah.
But I think this idea of creating a new story, I think in the end, what the focus was on the language. So
Mm,
it's not just about the global story, but oftentimes the language that we're choosing to use. Language is powerful. It
very,
holds a lot for us. And
very.
so if we can just start by examining, just first of all, just figuring out what the story is that we're telling ourselves. It's the
Yeah.
best self-coaching thing that you can do. Anytime you're feeling dysregulated, anytime that you're feeling extra negative, sad, whatever it might be, if you pause and say, what is the story I'm telling myself? And really give yourself space to think about that and examine that and really dig into what is that story and where is that story coming from and why do I hold that story? You
Yeah,
can
it's
you can
yeah,
start to change and influence things in your
yeah.
life
And I think
in really powerful ways.
when I'm feeling like that, Rita, I sometimes stop, as you said, but I also think, where am I? And then
Mm.
I look back and I do like almost like a stock take of where, how far have I come? Where am I? Okay, so I'm not fluent in Swedish, so I did get an F in my reading comprehension exam, which is a fail in
Ouch,
Swedish.
ouch.
Yeah, after getting A's and B's for, writing and everything else. And I'm like, wow, okay, I needed to get that F because I read an article and about this researcher from Sweden who changed the way his CV is. So, our CV, our resume has all the positive and highlights all the stuff we do. No, his CV is called My CV of Mistakes. So it
Oh,
highlights all
wow.
his failures, all his mistakes. And he's this renowned professor. And he said, if I didn't make those mistakes, have those failures, get those rejections, I wouldn't be where I am. So it's up to you how you take them. And also, it's a very deep article and it's in Swedish, but it's fantastic. And so it made me realize for the first time in my life, failing, getting an F is not so bad because what it's now done for me is it's made me look at how can I improve my reading? What can I do to become, to not get an F? And as we sit here, I'm actually retook the exam this year and I'm waiting for the results of the same exam I failed last year, but I haven't had them yet. So, I'm positive. Yeah, I did well.
And even if you didn't, you'll learn and you'll keep moving on. It doesn't steal your dream away
No, it doesn't.
because you're not giving it that kind of power. That's not the story that
No.
you're allowing it to
No,
own in your
no, but
head.
I do know as humans we do hit setbacks, but I still believe that those setbacks are there for a reason and we can turn them into positive nuggets. And yeah, that's what I think.
One last thought from Leslie is the brain is changed by mind. I believe that it's the thoughts that change the brain's chemistry. I don't have any research on support of that, but if you have some, hit me up separately, Leslie, and
Yeah,
let me see that. It'd be
yeah.
interesting to know what you're reading or
How?
seeing about the
Yeah,
chemistry. I think it's so fascinating
it
what we're
is,
able to
isn't
do
it?
now with science and understand more about what's going on inside
Yeah.
of our brains and how that is impacting our lives. Well, it's time to bring this episode of the story I'm telling myself to a close. Debbie, thank you for sharing the story. And it's
Thank you for having me.
none of us want to be in the club that you're in. None of us want to
No,
have the car accident, the you
no.
know whatever it might be. There's all kinds of tragedy that can befall us. This is just one
Yes,
example, but I hope what
yes,
people will take away from this is this question of, do I have to settle for this? Like when you're in those moments of the worst kind of thinking, like, am I really just going to settle for this?
yeah.
Or do I want something more to come out of this? And this is the post-traumatic growth. This is the resilience.
It
When you
is.
stop settling, that's where the resilience comes from. And you can
Yeah.
be a conqueror just like Debbie.
Thank you. That's so lovely. Thank you, Rita. Appreciate it. And thank you for listening in and watching on the replay. Thank you.
All right.
Full of
Well,
gratitude.
let's see. It's back on just to premiere the next episodes Friday at 2 p.m. Tandra Price is joining me. Tandra has launched a whole huge, beautiful media business in the last 3 years, I think. And she's going to talk about how the stories that wanted to limit her, how she overcame those in order to chase this really big dream. So if you're a big dreamer, but you find that your internal doubt, your imposter syndrome is maybe holding you back, you're not going to want to miss this opportunity to learn some tips from Tandra Price. That is Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. See you then. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.